Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Village of, Village of Ruidoso Workshop. Today is January the 3rd. It's 8 a.m. If we could, you'd stand and join me for a moment of silence, and then we'll do the pledge. Pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
All right, thank you, everyone. If we could get a roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Eby?
Here.
Counselor Letterman?
Here.
Counselor Salas?
Here.
Mayor Crawford?
Here.
Counselor Hooker?
Here.
Counselor Coughlin?
Here.
And Counselor Jackson?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we'll start with item number 1 on the agenda. And there's no decisions being made, just if they're going to be on regular or consent items. Thank you. Item number 1 is discussion of Resolution 2023 declaring reasonable notice of public meetings for the village council boards and commissions of the Village of Ruidoso. Jenny?
Yes, and Mayor and council members, I apologize. I don't have that resolution in Nova's agenda yet. I am trying to craft a resolution that would include boards and commissions along with the governing body meetings, and I will have that to you in your packets that you receive the end of this week.
Okay, and again, what we're trying to do is unify all of those.
Yes, sir.
Every board and commission is kind of doing their own thing, so we're consolidating that we're all on the same page.
Yes, sir.
The same page.
Okay, item number 2 is discussion on certificate of records destruction number 2023.
Going back, can we get that on consent?
Sure.
And update the calendar too, I'm assuming? Jenny?
Yeah,
Because the
yes, sir.
calendar, you have the 2022 here on the attachment, so.
Correct, yes. I will be getting that from, I think Robin has already distributed them. I'll make sure that that's included.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 2, should it still be number 2023-001?
Yes, sir. The last one was 2022-001.
Okay, and
So I'm going to have a separate number for each records of destruction.
okay, all right.
And this one will include some more business registrations and also YouTube videos that go back to, I believe it was 2020. We need to go ahead and get them off of social media. It's the same as having a recording in your office. Once minutes are approved, that backup is no longer needed. If the council wishes, I can keep 6 months on there, but there really is no reason to go back and have all of those from 2020 forward.
I would agree with that.
Jenny, the attached destruction certificate, it says that as of the December 13th, 2022?
Right, I need to update that. I apologize. Those, the number 1 and number 2, I apologize. I'm still working on those. I will have them in the final packet completed and corrected.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
This is all following a guideline that's set either by the state, by the Clerks Association, whatever it is. You're following that, correct?
Correct. It's the records retention schedule that was adopted by the New Mexico Clerks Association.
Perfect. Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else? Okay, where do you want it?
Consent.
Consent?
Yes.
Okay, item number 3, discussion on revised Ruidoso Police Department policies, complaints and notices, internal affairs, discipline, awards and recognition, uniforms and insignia. Yes, sir, Chief?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Council. These policies are, were
going to start putting policies every single meeting. We're starting out with these ones here. They are in compliance with the accreditation process. That's going to be the final goal, is to get accredited. The policies that are there, they do fall in line. The discipline one, especially with the Village of Ruidoso discipline policy. So they do mirror what the village has already approved in our policies. Is there any questions?
I don't have any.
Not yet.
None?
I'm kind of thinking this on regular, since there's been some issues and questions that have come up in the past from the
I
public.
agree.
And that's why we're putting them on, so that if we do get questions, we can explain them during that time.
Right.
Okay. Item number 4, discussion on amendment of the Lincoln County DWI Prevention Program sub-grant agreement with the Department of Public Safety, State of New Mexico.
This is the grant agreement with the Lincoln County DWI. This particular amendment goes to the New Mexico State Police. They are just recognized as part of the Department of Public Safety.
Okay.
Consent. Consent.
Item number 5, discussion on resolution 2023-02, a resolution authorizing the Village of Ruidoso to submit an application to the Department of Finance and Administration Local Government Division to participate in the local DWI grant and distribution program.
This will be just the submittal of the application for this year's DWI grant.
Okay.
Consent.
Item number 6, discussion on grant award with the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security for Emergency Management Fire Protection Grant Council for the purchase of a mobile Cascade in the amount of $201,205.67. Good morning, Chief.
Morning, Mayor, Council. Happy New Year, everybody. This is a grant that they awarded us to buy, like I said, a mobile Cascade trailer. The Cascade trailer will allow us to fill SCBA bottles on scene versus taking them all the way back to the station, which takes usually an amount of time. For on a fire, we usually take 6 or 7 bottles back to the station, fill them. You're looking about an hour turnaround time to get the bottles filled. With them being on scene, as soon as one gets emptied, we can fill it up right there and get it back in service.
Okay. It's pretty cool.
And you got a vehicle to pull it.
Yes, sir, we do. And we're fixing to order 3 more vehicles too. To replace them. They might get,
You'll get those in 2025.
probably.
Yeah. So how big is this trailer?
It's gonna be about a 18-footer. I can send you a picture if you want of what I'm looking at, whether we're gonna get that
I'm
one
just
or
trying to
not.
figure out how a trailer comes out to $200,000.
Because what
It's all
goes
the
in it.
technology on board.
Really? It's,
Makes air for their tanks.
is it something different than what scuba tanks are filled with? Because I can't imagine that they've spent that much money to fill scuba
It's probably,
tanks.
this is gonna be the same. This is gonna have work lights on it. It's gonna have a generator. It's gonna have a Cascade system. It's gonna be a big
Big to do.
to-do, yes.
Yeah, okay. Because I'm just thinking it's kind of the same as scuba tanks, and you take them in, you get them refilled at a dive shop for not very much, and it's like, if they've got to spend $200,000 for the equipment to fill it.
Right. And there are less expensive trailers. It just depends on, I'm gonna spec one out and then we'll go out for bid and see what comes in. But that's what they allowed us, gave us for money for, was the 200,000, so 201.
Yeah, no, don't argue when somebody's giving the money to buy it, so. But yeah, no, it sounds great.
Mayor,
Yes?
okay, sorry. Okay, I don't understand what that's, I don't understand why you have to have that. What is
Well,
that?
like for example, when we had the fire over here at Can't Stop Smoking, the guys were on it so much that their oxygen tank would go down, and then we were having to send people and we borrowed a trailer, I think, on that particular one from Kenmore to fill the tanks. And so
Okay.
this is a system that would be on site that could keep the tanks full. One comes off, goes in, filling it.
Okay. Sorry,
No, that's fine. That's fine. Ask the question.
Yeah, who would know what a cascade system is unless you looked it up or,
Correct. That's what it does. Allows us to fill bottles quicker on scene and get our firefighters back on the
okay,
fight quicker.
great.
discussion or consent? Regular?
I would like regular, or I would suggest regular so that we're announcing it and bringing up our equipment, and, I mean, it is a good tool to have.
Okay. Item number 7, discussion on award of RFP number 2023-003P to Stephen W. Carruthers and Associates, SWCA Environmental Consultants, to conduct a Lincoln County multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update in the amount of $68,020, including gross receipts tax, and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement. Yes, sir. Good job, Ross.
Click your button
Can you-
there.
Hit your button.
The mic's off.
Just touch it once and then stop. It'll.
There you go.
Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is a request for an approval of a hazardous mitigation plan update. We put out bid request, and this is to update the existing hazardous mitigation plan that we have. We ended up having a committee and reviewing 2 submittals. So SWCA scored out the best for us, and so we would like to award them the bid.
Sounds good.
What is the date of the current plan?
July-
Seems like we just did this.
July of 18, actually.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Did we talk about this in the last couple of years?
I think we talk about it quite often. Some of the stuff that comes up about some of the bridges and other stuff has to,
Well, in my mind, I'm thinking approximately the same dollar amount and a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan we talked about, but it seems like it was only a couple of years ago, so that's why I was questioning it.
but the last one, this one was approved in 2018.
Mayor Crawford, Chief Kalzabowski, who else is involved in this hazard mitigation plan? Can you explain that also?
So this involves, it's a multi-jurisdictional plan, so Lincoln County, Carrizozo, Corona, Capitan, Hondo, the Downs, so it's all inclusive for the county hazard mitigation plan. Everybody has, stakeholders attend, and then we'll have some public meetings as well to get everybody's input, and then we'll do any updates that are necessary and get it sent to FEMA, and FEMA has to approve it before it's official, so that's how the process works.
And the money for this comes from the BRIC grant, which is Building Resilience Infrastructure and Communities Grant.
That's great.
Okay. Regular consent.
I wouldn't say consent, but it's up for discussion.
Well, I mean, you're discussing our hazard mitigation plan. I'd say let's have it on regular, just so that we can let people know that we're doing it. 8, discussion and ratification of sub-grant agreement, SGA, with Federal Emergency Management Assistance, FEMA, for the project worksheet PWs, PW 95, 98, 103, 111, 113, and PW 117 in the amount of $7,857,826.39, resulting in an increase of $3,190,988.39. Yes, ma'am.
Morning, Mayor and Council.
That thing's sensitive.
Sorry about that. These are the grant agreements to replace the bridges that were damaged in the 2008 flood. If you look at the awards, all of the bridges, there was an increase in the awards on all of the bridges except for North Loop Bridge. We've already had the mayor sign it, and we are asking for you to ratify it so that we can get it sent to the state so that they can go through their process. So that means probably another 6 months before they get that grant award, so. I don't know if you have any questions or if this is.
Anything?
It's nice to see it.
Just a bunch of giggling, I know, smirks.
Yeah.
Going to 20 years.
Well,
I'm changing my prediction that the kids born that year will graduate from college by the time this is all done.
There you
Used to
go.
be high school,
I
but
agree.
regular consent.
consent.
Good?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chris.
Item number 9 is discussion agreement between Eastern New Mexico University Roswell and the Ruidoso Fire Department to provide a facility for students to complete the clinical phase of emergency medical services training.
Morning again. This agreement, I know Chief Thetford had been working with the college trying to get this set up. We're finally to that point. What this will do is any EMT students that attend the college up here will be able to use our facilities to ride along and do their clinical process. They have to have so many hours riding with the fire department or ambulance and so many patient contacts to complete their program. And that's what this will do. It'll allow us to work better with the college and the students. And it'll help our firefighters as well complete their programs. Right now, we've been having to send our firefighters to Roswell, Mescalero, Alamogordo to complete this process. So this will allow us to do it more in-house or in the Ruidoso area
That's great.
than having to send them around the state.
So how many students do you anticipate?
The college up here usually has 10 to 12 students
Okay.
in their basic and intermediate classes, so it won't be a whole lot that'll come through it. So
Okay.
when I went through my EMT class, I think we had 12 students. We started out with 20 and ended up with 12 finishing it, so those 12 had to go through the program. I ended up in Roswell for 48 hours doing some shifts down there just to cover it because we didn't have the ability to do it up here.
Up here, okay.
I wonder if those numbers may increase because they don't have to go to Roswell.
It's
to do it.
possible.
And I believe the college here just recently graduated some of the first nursing students. So it sounds like they're picking up stuff. I think I
So,
read
and
something
it could very well, if we can get more stuff done here and locally, it might pick up the students, which, we've got the staff, we're 24/7, so we can have the people riding with us. Usually they do 12-hour shifts, so they just go to one of the fire stations and we'll have to pick which stations they go to. And then they can sign up for those and we'll facilitate all that with the college.
Chief, are they also going to have the paramedic class also offered, or do you know that?
They don't offer the paramedic class through Ruidoso, it's only through Roswell. The only problem is to facilitate paramedics, you have to have paramedics on staff and have to be a paramedic service, which we are not. I mean, we're fixing to have one firefighter that is a paramedic, Sean Keller, is completing his paramedic class, but that doesn't make us a paramedic service. So probably won't be able to facilitate the paramedics for this.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, Chief, I just had one question on the second line under your item discussion. It says, and to have access to any charts, medical records. Could you define that a little better for me? Medical records of whom or for what?
Which one was that on?
Oh, it's under your item discussion. It's the second line, and it says, Ruidoso Fire Department RFD facilities and to have access to any charts, medical records. That's my concern, reference books and other materials. What are those medical records, and are they released? And
I'll have to look at that and make sure.
yeah, I'm just a little concerned because when you put that term in there,
Right.
it indicates that there's a custodial care on the part of whoever's handling those medical records and a release requirement and all of that. And it kind of caught my eye and I had concerns with it.
Okay. I'll get that answer for you.
Thanks.
Well, on that there, it just does say in use of protected health information that any, the business associates will not use and will ensure that it is, as directors, officers, employees, blah, 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 will not use any of those covered entities in any manner that would constitute a violation of the HIPAA privacy regulation or security.
Exactly. What does that mean?
So are you saying that addresses it?
I would think that's in the policy there that, I'm assuming that there's certain medical records that have to be disclosed or they have to be aware of at certain times, but then this pretty much put the kibosh on them sharing that information with anyone under the HIPAA requirements.
As long as it's in compliance, I don't have any issues, but I am concerned about it.
Some of the medical records of the students have to have specific vaccinations and TB and stuff, and we have to have those medical records showing that they've done that to finish to do their ride-alongs with us as well. But the college provides us that information. They say, okay, here's, this person did fulfill their obligation in getting their TB test, their flu shots.
And does the individual then supply that to you?
They will
What I'm
supply,
saying is it should come from the individual,
right,
even if it is, because it is their,
yes.
I'm probably splitting hairs a bit here, but I just don't want us to get into a quagmire with this. If the individual hands to you any of that information, it's fine, because they're the ultimate responsible party. If a third party does it without their permission, then it becomes an issue.
Yes, sir.
And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a medical test to show that they're immune, or whether they've had a test to show that they haven't had some disease entity. I mean, it becomes very much the private entity of the individual patient.
The way it worked when I went through the classes, I did all my testing, made sure I had my TB test, my shots and stuff, and I gave it to our instructor. Our instructor for right at the university, and the university stated that, yes, they did meet these qualifications.
But it came from you.
Yes, sir.
That's my only point.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at the agreement. I mean, the agreement itself, it talks about ENMU Roswell being the university and Ruidoso Fire Department, but then it later goes on into reference to the agency, but the agency is never defined who the agency is. I'm assuming it's Ruidoso Fire Department,
It should be, yes.
but it's not defined in this, and it's just, in the agreement, this probably was drafted by ENMU,
Yes, sir.
but they really should go back and define who the agency is, because it's not defined, but it goes on to talk a lot about furnish the agency and the agency's duties and so forth, but it never says who the agency is.
Yes, sir. So I believe that I'll talk to Justin Powell. He's a person running the clinical program up there. Basically next to the Ruidoso Fire Department, in parentheses, put an agency like he has university next to Eastern Mexico. Okay.
That's all it needs.
Yes, sir. I'll make sure he gets that taken care of.
Anything else?
And I did have Zach and Ron review this as well.
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, we can also add that language in there on the agency. Zach can
It's just
Can
a
make those
simple
changes.
definition, yeah. I would suggest putting this as regular, because maybe this will get word out,
I agree.
that it's available, and maybe you can get some more candidates for the fire department.
Okay?
Okay, number 9, regular.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Item number 10, discussion on First Amendment to agreement with the Year Out Energy Services Company LLC for reduction in contract price in the amount of $19,084, including gross receipts tax, reduction of project square footage by 77,981 square feet, I assume, and requesting an additional 210 calendar days to the number of days permitted for delivering the draft investment grade energy audit, IGA, report totaling 450 days. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I spoke with Leonard Newbell, who is the project manager on this. He's out sick this week. The reduction in scope is due to removal of the police department. It'll result in a reduction of about $20,000 to the overall contract. I asked him why it was going to be a total of an extra 210 calendar days. He said it was already a little bit delayed because this lack of response, not lack, but just people weren't as responsive due to the fires and other commitments that they had. So when they finally got all the information from the village on what our recommendations are and what we wanted to do, it kind of delayed the timeline. So that's why there is an additional 210 days added to the overall project.
Okay.
Well, from my experience, I would say part of the delay is they just show up and expect everybody to stop what
Yes.
they're doing. And they've done that at the Horton several times. And I don't know why they need to come out 3 and 4 times to view the same property that they're at. I mean, it gets kind of ridiculous, but we have told them that they need to schedule a time to come and do it, and they refuse to do it. They keep coming out. So the delays, I would have to say, go back onto them.
Sure.
They need to get their act together and get organized and listen to the departments, because all, across the board, all of the different facilities in the village can't just drop everything to accommodate them on a whim when they don't even know that there's a possibility of them coming.
Yes, I agree, and Leonard's tried to make sure that that starts to happen, but like you said, that it's not always, the way it works. But, if there's any additional questions, I can try and get that information before the next council meeting.
Why don't we have them here? Do they have a representative that we could talk to?
I'm sure there is, I can make sure that
See
Leonard
if we
has
can
them
get
available.
somebody here, at least on Zoom, so that the counselor can express his concerns.
Gosh, that's over 6 months.
Yes.
It's basically
that's-
doubling the amount of time.
They are, and that's what I was gonna suggest when the meeting, make an amendment to just go to 180 days.
Especially when it's a reduction in scope. I'm not sure why it's
Yeah.
need that much extra time.
And the reduction was on the Boys and Girls Club too, right?
It was on they were gonna do the shop building, I think. So I don't remember exactly what it was. They had square footage. The entire scope of Horton was off by an amount, and I can't remember what it was.
Okay,
Regular.
Yes.
We'll make sure that they are.
see if can somebody attend or by Zoom or whatever, and we can ask them that question.
Sure.
Item number 11, discussion on task order RFP 2022-002P-07 with Riverbend Engineering for on-call watershed engineering support and design proposal reviews in an amount not to exceed $40,000, including gross receipts tax. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor and councilors. So this is a task order for Riverbend Engineering for $40,000 for on-call watershed engineering support. So pretty much if we need any support for watershed projects, we can give him a call. He also will review design sets as well that impact rivers and riparian habitat to make sure we're in compliance.
They do a nice job.
Chris, anybody have any questions?
Just one, Ashley, because you're on the boots on the ground with this, have you been very pleased with this engineering firm and their responses and the services they provide?
Chris has been really good. I have not had any issues with him, and I know when Eric was working with him, there was no issues either. He's very responsive. He'll pick up the phone anytime you give him a call, or he'll get back to you shortly after.
Are we changing the order in which we're doing this now, Ron?
Mayor, members of the council, it should have been on these items here. They should have been, that one should have been switched, but no, we still wanted to keep that flow with each director.
Okay.
But Ashley, so I seem to remember in the past, we would approve a certain amount to be dealt with by task order. So when you have a specific task, this doesn't appear to be a specific task. This is a generic. Is it different or?
That's what I was
This
just
is-
talking about.
Yeah, this is just for on-call services. It's not for a specific task per se.
So if we need them on call,
Yeah.
if we need them to do something, then don't we issue a task order?
I see what you're saying.
See what I'm saying?
I do.
That's what we've done in the past.
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Coughlin, on any of these on-call engineering contracts, that's what we want to do is they're going to have, say they're going to have a contract here, unless it's specific to whatever project it is, we'll include it. If not, we'll do a separate task order for whatever project we've tasked them with.
Okay, because I started going back through the task orders that are attached, and it was for specific tasks that need to be done.
I see.
But the on-call is just saying, okay, we're setting aside $40,000 for them to be on-call if we need them, but then shouldn't we then issue a task order for whatever service we need at that time?
And I know for like particular projects, like the main projects, we do make sure that it's an individual task order. This is kind of more of, we have a design set that comes up real quick. We need to get it reviewed so that way we can pass the permit process. That's what this is kind of more for, or with grants helping.
More smaller day-to-day assistance, especially when we just, like in particular with another task order that we had a grant application that came up that we needed some of his assistance, and he's just providing quick assistance, nothing specific to a project, not having the time to come back to council and say, hey, can we get a task order for him to help us with this grant or to answer this question or look at these specs? as they come about. So it's more of an open-ended kind of on-call contract.
So then what's the process to get a task order? Because it's under 40,000, well, the total amount is 40,000, but
Usually under 60, it can be signed off by the mayor, but with not having somebody in the director position, we kind of wanted to bring it to the council until someone's in that spot.
okay.
In Counselor, Mayor Crawford, Counselor Coughlin, for example, on any type of, say, street and drainage engineering contract on-call that we may look at, we would put a scope of work in there to help us, say, with submitting for an application, having a design, just a brief conceptual design of a roadway, et cetera, and we would include that all in within the same task order, just like they have on this one. We'd be able to use them on a daily basis if we wanted to. If Ashley had a question on a fish habitat project, she could just get with Chris. We already have that task order. He could get the work done, say for an application or for an existing project.
So we just keep amending the task order as it,
This one here would not exceed the $40,000.
right, but if we need them today to do something that's gonna cost, say, $1,000, so we would go in and amend that task order to put in the description of what services we need, and then the next time we would go in and amend it again and put again the whatever services were needed at that point, as long as the total amount doesn't exceed 40,000?
We would have it, the scope of work would be specific to whatever Ashley was working on within that $40,000. But we would track it that way.
Right, okay, so the scope of work just keeps getting amended as we roll forward?
Yes.
And this is the way we've done things in the past?
We have done some, in the past, we've had some just on-call engineering contracts. It's like the state have on-call with different, New Mexico Department of Transportation. If they have they need to do a sign design for doing setting speed limits or whatever else, they already have a contract in place where that engineer just will do that study for them. And we're just trying to get where we can be able to, instead of having to go back out for RFP or do a contract, we have a on-call engineering way of doing these projects. But we've done them in the past before.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because it just, like I said, and like the mayor was indicating as well, it seemed different to us than what we've done in the past, but there may have been some of these that we've done that just didn't stick in the mind, and you.
Counselor Coughlin, and some of them are just project-specific. Some of these, whenever we've done an RFP and we have awarded, it's been for a specific project, like Sauter Miller, say on the Pine Cliff project. They were just, their only task was to design the Pine Cliff area. This one here will allow Riverbend to do multiple projects that Ashley may be working on a daily basis, that may be just for watershed or for other types of projects that she has.
Right.
Got it, okay. Thank you.
Consent?
Consent or
Consent.
regular?
Consent.
Consent.
Item number 12, discussion on task order RFP 2022-002P-08 with Riverbend Engineering for engineering services along the Rio Ruidoso at Water Plant 1 and Malone Road to Martin Road in the amount of $58,693.58, including gross receipts tax.
So this is another task order with Riverbend Engineering. So this is to help fix up the water plant number 1 that was from the 2021 flood damage, along with repairing habitat and river habitat between Malone Road and Martin Road. So the scope of work is included in the fee proposal that was in the packet. And this includes the final design of river stabilization and restoration, permitting and bidding phase services, and the construction phase services.
Now, this is in the area of the diversion,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And I see the funding's coming from SGRT. Did we not receive any kind of funding due to an emergency during that event?
I cannot think of that on the top of my head.
I don't remember seeing any FEMA-related assistance.
Here she is.
Sorry, made you get up.
Okay, Councilor Kaufman, Mayor. As you know, the process for the floods and that has been a little bit frustrating to say the least. So we are currently still going through applications. One of them that we are arguing because we asked for a deadline, state said okay, and then they came back 2 months later and said you didn't apply in time. So in dealing with the state, we don't currently have anything allocated to the flood yet, but that's not saying that we won't get funding in the future. However, to keep the project moving and doing what we need to do, as far as being a good steward, we need to probably do these task orders and need to keep it up. Whether in the future it'll be reimbursable or not, has yet to be seen.
Okay. Thank you. See, and this is a task order like I'm used to, for a specific thing, so that's where the confusion on the other one was.
Yep.
I'd say consent.
I agree.
Okay, number 12 is consent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley.
Item number 13, discussion on change order number 3 with White Sands Construction, Inc., requesting a total of 21 calendar days to include a substantial completion date of January 31st, 2023, and an increase in contract price in the amount of $9,088.00, including gross receipts tax, for an ADA-compliant shower pan and shower room. So we've already grilled Adam on all of this, so he knows what Councilor Coughlin's going to say. So before Coughlin spins off here, go ahead and tell us.
Mayor, Council, so during the plumbing inspection of our new RJU building, the shower room did not pass inspection. They said it was not ADA compliant. So we went back to the architect, Wilson Company. They did admit fault on this in their plans. We did go back to White Sands also. White Sands did knock off their administration fees and their project management fees, but Wilson is not willing to help out at all. But in order for us to pass inspection and get occupancy of this building, we have to have an ADA compliant.
So remind me what the purpose of having an architect is.
So we don't run into this.
So they screwed up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So,
they do.
and they're saying, we screwed up, but we're not going to cover it.
Pretty much,
Yep.
yes.
I suggest we go after their E&O insurance.
Well, Ron
Yeah.
he was on stage left. He was getting ready to come
Mayor
up.
Crawford,
Ron and I have talked about this.
Counselor
so I-
Coughlin
a
and
little bit about this.
Zach have issued a task order to Zach to follow through with that. I've already made them aware of that. Wilson and Company, that will be submitting them a letter, and it's in the agreement. So they called me again on Friday and tried to say, let's talk some more if we need to be at the council meeting. I said, no, we don't need to have you at the council meeting. Your staff already admitted fault on it, and, we need to move forward. And I let them know that we wouldn't be utilizing them anymore. But we're moving forward, and Zach's going to send them a letter of notice.
Well, I would say if they want to come, let them come. They'll regret coming. But I'm tired of hiring all these professionals that are supposed to do a specific job and help us along, and then they screw up, and then they say, oh, sorry, we screwed up, but you're going to have to cover it. That's baloney. And no, they're going to pay for it.
What all they have to do to that shower pan, Adam?
So when in my mind, it looked good. When you walk in the shower room, it sloped towards the drain, but there was not an actual shower pan put in the shower. And the inspectors say, CID is saying that there actually has to be a shower pan, so they have to go bust out the concrete, move the drain over, and actually install a shower pan.
You can't do a
You gotta
built-in
put the
place shower
walls.
pan?
Basically, that's what it looks like right now. It slopes towards the drain. You walk in, it's a concrete room. Everything slopes towards the drain. You have your shower head, but they're saying that it needs an actual shower pan installed.
I'm just trying to figure out how CID missed it.
Yep.
When they came and inspect the state.
Right.
All these people missed it until the very end.
And this has to do with ADA?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I think it looks more ADA compliant as it stands right now, but I'm not the expert.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
So they'll basically chip it out, place it, then repave it and make it just like it was before,
Yes, sir.
as a smooth surface with a drain to that corner.
Yes.
With the, and they'll have to go up the wall about yay far.
Yes, it'll have a lip on the wall.
Lip.
Regular item.
Regular item.
Yes.
Yeah, we'd already thoroughly hashed that one out before, because I knew Coughlin would be all over this one.
Yeah, Ron gave me the heads up on it.
Did he?
Yeah. And it's the same thing at that point. I go, they screwed up, go after their E and O.
Yeah.
None of this baloney about, oh, yeah, we screwed up, but sorry, we're not covering it.
Item number 14, discussion on resolution 2022-55, a resolution establishing rules and regulations on the Mitchell Meadows Housing Development and 99 Sunny Slope Drive as amended. Good morning, ladies.
Morning.
Item number 14.
Good morning, Mayor and councilors. We're bringing this resolution back to you all so quickly because Berkshire Hathaway has had a change in their policy and the processes that they accept rent payments. They no longer accept cash. In addition to that, there needs to be an amendment to the pet policy in the way that we are making it, it can't be refundable in that manner, but we may have options for the amounts.
So, sorry, I'm losing my voice again. As far as the pet deposit goes, pet fee refundable, the issue with making it refundable is when the real estate commission comes in and looks at what funds we have held for tenants, they're just gonna see what funds we have held. They're not gonna care how it's labeled. They don't care if it's labeled a pet fee. They're not gonna care if it's labeled deposit, pet deposit. They're just looking at the X amount held. If we're over that 1 month deposit, we're in violation, and you guys all, Village of Ruidoso has to pay interest to any funds held over that deposit. So that's where we have to change that. It cannot be a refundable pet fee. It either has to be a fee or we get rid of that altogether and we have 1 month deposit, or I know there was a discussion about having an additional month pet rent. Something like that could happen, but it cannot be anything refundable outside of 1 month equivalent.
So total
that's in-
deposits cannot exceed 1 month's rent.
Yeah, and they don't care how you
Regardless.
label that, what you call it, it's just, they're looking at X amount held for a tenant.
So I've been thinking about this. We were looking at $250 pet fee due upon move-in. So what happens if somebody moves in and then 6 months later, oh, we want to get a puppy? Well, they didn't pay their deposit because they weren't there in the beginning. Now, during inspections, you might find out that they have a puppy or whatnot. So that makes it kind of difficult because now all of a sudden you just get a dog and now you have to pay $250. Well, I didn't have it then, so I shouldn't have to pay it, and they don't have the $250. So then that animal's going to end up back over at the Humane Society because they're not going to have the $250 to pay it. What we could do instead is, I would suggest maybe do a $25 per month pet rent on top of it.
Pet fee.
Yeah, pet fee. So they're not having a large amount to come up with upfront, and it's just $25 extra a month. You got pets in our property, it's $25 a month. There you go. At the end of a year, that's $300, which can go into help with any additional damage caused by that pet who happens to be
And
there.
then after that first month, no more pet fee?
No, it's, every month you have a pet, it's $25 a month,
$25 for 1 month wouldn't be much.
which is more
Well,
affordable than coming up with $250 and having it held. But then I believe you have to hold the funds separately to,
As far as,
if you were to collect more than 1 month. Say we kept it at $250 non-refundable, but you have to keep that in its own separate account, generating interest.
only if it's gonna be refundable.
Only if it's gonna be refundable, yes, that's what I'm talking about. So if it's refundable, you have to keep it in its own separate account, so
And
now
that
you're
would
having
be
to
with
go
our
open up a whole bunch of different accounts.
I don't think we should
Forget that.
refund.
No.
Because pets, they can be destructive.
Right. So it's either a one-time fee
Of 250.
or a monthly fee. See,
See, what they're saying is,
That's what
we
I'm saying.
have a security deposit that's equal to 1 month's rent. And then on top of that, if we go on top of that and we take money, we have to pay interest on that money. So you could label it a fee, and he's saying instead of paying the security deposit and a 250, if I'm wrong, straighten me out,
Nope.
to break it, to just charge a flat $25 a month
That's part of the rent.
is part of the rent.
that, you got it. We're on the same wavelength, can you believe that?
There's a cold front, something nasty moving in. That's what Frank Potter said. Something's nasty's moving in.
Mr. Mayor, how have other contracts you've had handled that same issue?
So the other contracts I have, they're all doing just a flat 250 upfront. We usually give tenants up to a month from move-in to get it paid. And then after that, we start assessing late fees on that fee that's not paid.
So you haven't, as a course of business, ever had a pet fee per month, per unit?
No, but it's something, we do fees for other, like we have an apartment complex that in the summer, they get charged X amount for putting in a window air conditioning for that extra electric cost.
Uh-huh,
So it's something we deal with.
all right.
But I agree. They go to the Humane Society, they get a puppy,
Right.
you get all the stuff that goes with a new animal, and then you got 250.
Right.
And they're having to get registered and chipped. They're paying for that then, so that's $75.
Well, you may not have to pay for registration anymore.
Yeah, if you have anything to do with it.
Well, it's on the regular agenda, so public hearing, we'll see.
And
Take that off, too.
so, I mean, I don't have a problem. It's up to y'all. I know it creates more of a paperwork issue for you.
It's not
If-
difficult.
So,
It's just another.
but you can't cap it? Can you, once they get, say, 10 months to $250? Because we're just using it as part of the rent. It just becomes revenue.
Yeah. We can cap it after so long if you want to.
Mayor, but then
It's not difficult.
if
on
I
my end.
leave,
You don't get
I don't get, we don't.
No,
Yeah,
nothing back.
There's no refundable.
yeah,
Right.
okay.
Refundable went out the window.
Yeah. And
So
in
we're just
the-
adding $25 a month to everybody.
That has a pet.
That has a pet.
And in the event someone sneaks one in, well, it's a 7-day notice to correct the action, either get rid of the pet or start paying $25.
Or whatever amount you guys agree on.
Yeah, whatever amount it is.
25 was arbitrary, so
Yeah, it's just
it's
a,
whatever you guys think.
but I think that if we do it for like 10 months and then cut it off, that's gonna be more difficult, because then they've gotta then have some kind of tickler that says, okay, in 10 months, we gotta take that fee off of what they're paying.
It can be done. It would be a little bit more difficult. The easiest would be like a 1 year if you're wanting to cut it off at some point, because the leases will be 1 year and renew after the 1 year.
But will they renew for a year, or will they then go month to month after that?
That can be decided, that it can go either way.
And just to be clear, that's a flat fee, independent of whether it's one or two animals.
Yes.
Yeah. I would just say it just continues on. And then it's just a matter of coming up with an amount, whatever you guys feel comfortable with. I mean, it could be $20 a month, you
That
know?
would be $240 a year.
Yeah. I just threw 25 out there.
Okay. All right, so y'all get that in your noggin for next week.
Regular.
So then I guess you're going to rewrite and put in the policy that if any resident that doesn't have a pet, if they do acquire a pet, that they'd have to notify management within X amount of days.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's also part of their lease agreement that we use. Any changes to the lease, we have to be notified, and it has to be approved.
Are there any other amendments,
Just the payment,
the payment?
Being
on it, it
cash.
lists cash, yes, we had an attempted break-in at the office, and after that, we eliminated all cash payments. So,
So just by money order or?
money order, check, cashier
and
check, or
cashier
they
check?
have the online option to pay by card.
Okay,
or
that's
check.
what I was gonna ask, if it's an online.
Sorry, it looks like we have sprinklers on outside.
Where?
Probably. Out the window, it looked like water was spraying up.
Do we have sprinklers out
I didn't even know we had sprinklers here.
I don't know. It looked like water.
Sounds like a problem for Waterman. Dun, da, da. Dun, da, da, dun, da, da. I don't even know how he's walking, boy. They had
Oh, you know
busy.
what? It might be that car that's backed up. I just saw the windshield wiper going. Maybe they have big
Talk about
overspray.
sensitive.
Eyesight goes with age.
No, the fact that I could see it. I think it was that truck.
Tim is really ambidextrous. He's looking,
Yeah.
he's looking everywhere.
My mind just is like, you don't want to be in there.
Okay, so this isn't on here?
Okay, so that's it, is the payments and the pet? And that's it?
To the regular meeting.
Yeah.
Just so you see it.
Okay,
And then I entered, I'll see if I entered that one twice, but I'm learning.
okay.
Thanks, guys.
And then what we can do also, Jenny, I noticed that Chief had presented one item, and then he had another, a gap, just keep them all together.
That's cool.
All right, number 15, Austin. Discussion on recommendation from Airport Advisory Board to eliminate landing ramp and tie-down fees.
Morning, Mr. Mayor.
Morning.
Good morning, Council. Happy New Year's. This item was brought into consideration in the last Airport Advisory Board meeting held on December 20th, 2022. The Airport Advisory Board is recommending to eliminate the landing fee, ramp, tie-down fees at Sierra Blanca Regional Airport for these two reasons specified. Cost and saving for travelers. Landing and ramp tie-down fees can add significantly to the cost of traveling by airplane, particularly those who travel frequently or own their own aircraft. Eliminating these fees could help make air travel more affordable for all travelers. Item number 2, improved customer satisfaction. Many travelers view landing fees, ramp, tie-down fees as unnecessary and burdensome. Eliminating these fees could help to improve customer satisfaction and make air travel a more attractive option for travelers. Of course, with pros and cons, I did write down the cons just so that I can inform you so you guys have it in the back of your mind. A reason not to eliminate these fees is that these fees contribute to cover some of the cost of maintaining and operating the airport. Landing fees are typically paid by all aviation travelers when they use the airport facilities. These fees go towards cost of maintenance and other infrastructure that is necessary for safe and efficient operations. Without these fees, the airport may struggle to find the necessary maintenance and improvements, which could lead to safety concerns and reduce efficiency for all users of the airport. Additionally, eliminating these could potentially lead to an increase in other fees, charges for the airport users, as the airport may need to find other ways to generate revenue to cover its costs. I would recommend to consider for the next meeting, just have it in your mind. We could consider a partial elimination fee. This would include elimination of the landing ramp tie-down fees limited to general aviation. Just a thought I had, landing ramp overnight fees would remain in effect to charter flights. And certain air carriers, which are known to be large corporations, they really see little to no impact on these fees. But of course, that would need to be discussed with the advisory board again before the decision is made.
And the advisory board, Dave Stevens is our president of our chairperson of the advisory board. He's going to be the one presenting this on behalf of the advisory board, this number and as well as number 17. So they'll come in with their thoughts and ideas on doing away with these fees as well.
How much are the fees?
It varies per plane.
Oh, okay.
So for instance, like the general aviation community, if they're flying a single piston aircraft and they tied down on the ramp for one night, it's $15. If they use any kind of facility fees or they just come in real quick to pick some people up, again, it's $15 for the ramp fee.
Just like if you touch down, do whatever, and then go, it's still $15?
Yes, ma'am.
There are some stipulations. If they get fuel, we waive a certain amount of fuel, we waive that $15 fee.
Okay.
Just like on jets, if they So jets, their tie-down fees and ramp fees are a little bit more based on the size of the plane. If they get 50 gallons of fuel, jet fuel, which most of them do get that much, we'll waive that ramp fee for that day as well. Just looking at the previous years, if we
Yeah.
do away with these fees, we could look at losing about $20,000 to $25,000 a year in revenue.
You said that the advisory board is going to, yes,
No, I don't.
that they're going to be presenting this item here. Are you all going to be part of that presentation also?
We will be here as well.
All right, so with that, because I'm sure that they would be bringing forth their side as far as the pros of eliminating these fees, but there's, we're paying for the airport. And anytime we have personnel out there, we're paying their salaries or their employment wages for the work that they're doing. So is there any way that you could bring forth, okay, we say, because you gave forth a round number as far as losing 25,000 a year, but let's just say if you have an airplane or whatever size you want to use an example, say, well, this is what we have to expend. If we do away with this particular fees, then this is what we're losing every time, because we have to supply the manpower, we have to buy the equipment to be on site in case there is an accident, and so on. So these are expenses that were occurring that obviously it seems that they're wanting to give away free.
It's
I
kind of
agree.
like the, go ahead.
No, I agree with Joe. I think if you could have some numbers, so.
I can come up with some rough estimates on how long it takes one of our guys to direct a plane in, park a plane, and, we're looking at least an hour. Somebody could be tied up 30 minutes, somebody could be tied up, and they gotta fuel them as well. So that's what part of that fee is for. And also just kind of like the highway fees, wear and tear on the runways and on the ramps and stuff. Is
Plus,
what it helps cover as well.
Don't they have to have certain certifications and such to work out there and to
Yes.
perform certain tasks, and that
Yes, we do.
is education, that's also resources and time spent?
We go through the company we're using right now is Avfuel Corporation. We go through line technician training on how to marshal planes, parking planes, guiding them in, and we do pay fees for that training on a yearly basis.
Joe, I have another question, Austin, as well. If you look at this just as a proposal, is it a standard for other airports of similar size and operation to waive these fees? Or is this just something unique and consideration for our airport alone?
It varies around the country, Counselor. Some charge a standard rate for for Hunter low-lead style planes versus jet planes. They don't differentiate between different sizes of planes. Some of them don't charge at all based on their locations as well. A lot of your destination airports like Ruidoso, Taos, stuff like that, they do charge a tie-down fee, a ramp fee, because they're a destination. People are coming there for a reason. What some of the stuff that they're thinking is we do away with these fees, we're gonna have more people travel through, pass in, get fuel and leave. And one of the problems with that idea is that they can't just go straight across country here because of the white sands. They have to go all the way
Right.
around. But it just varies per region on what they charge.
But like you just said, part of the reason you believe is that if they're traveling cross-country, they'll stop in, if we eliminate those fees, they'll stop in and get fuel. But you also said earlier that if they get fuel, we're gonna waive the fee. So
Right.
that's not a valid point. So you said, you said it varies across the country, but what about other general aviation airports within the state of New Mexico? What are we competing with?
We can get it, we have information on that. We'll provide that on a
Okay.
spreadsheet. Different, like I said, different airports charge different amounts. Farmington, they have different amounts that they charge, different ways that they charge their fees as well. Places like Carrizosa, it's a small airport, they don't charge any fees.
They didn't charge anything, but they've got nothing there.
And some of the airports have went with a FBO company, a company running their FBO versus the village employees or city employees. So that company sets their rates.
Okay. How many would you estimate charge nothing at all?
I'd have to
What
look at that and
percentage?
say that.
Counselor Coughlin, in New Mexico, I'd say there's probably 6, and we're looking at places like Artesia, Las Vegas, Carlsbad, a few smaller ones.
Okay.
So how did this evolve? I mean, this is kind of a de novo discussion on waiving fees, but
I
I'm
can
trying to
speak
get
to-
my arms around
Mayor,
it.
can
What is-
I can speak to that. We put together an airport committee like we've done on other things with master plans. And one of the big things was our fuel costs were, we'd done a bulk purchase when fuel was high, so we were still selling it high. We're not selling a lot of fuel. That is the doorway to Ruidoso to a lot of people, and we're really trying to expand with what we're doing on our services out there. So this board brought together that one of the things that we have a reputation of, don't fly in here and buy gas because we're high, and you're going to have the landing fees, you're going to have the tie-down fees. So it makes it prohibitive from coming in and landing and buying fuel.
But they just said that if you buy fuel, that you don't have to pay those.
Right,
landing.
but that's now. But then we were still charging, I understand, some kind of fee, a landing fee, weren't we?
That, we don't charge landing fee or ramp fees and tie-down fees.
Now we don't, but we did.
Since when we took over back in 2019, when Sean left, that was in place. They were using that in place at that point in time already. They were going with a little bit different amounts, and what they were doing was, and this was through Sean that I found out, that they were waiving the fees for an entire weekend if they came and bought any amount of fuel, 5 gallons of fuel. And the way it was put into effect was that I reviewed a lot of airports, is they would say, okay, if you buy 20 gallons of fuel, we'll waive one day of tie down or the ramp fees for that day. So that's where this came from. So it's always been that way, but some planes, your smaller planes can't hold that amount of fuel. So we do work with the pilots on that. If they can, these smaller planes, if they only take 10 or 20 gallons of fuel versus a 30, then we'll work with them on waiving those fees.
Okay, well, the only thing I remember is the group that we met with, said that was one of the contributing factors as to why we weren't, selling a lot of fuel. Just like in every organization, you have websites and you have mailers that they have, and I can't remember the name of this what is it? Some magazine that basically the riders and whatever were not, weren't. You don't fly to Ruidoso unless you have to. And so part of the thing is we're trying to get not only our own people to buy fuel from us, instead of flying to Carrizozo and flying down the hill to Alamogordo or wherever, but to make us more of an appealing. After all, we're a destination place. We're a tourist community. We make our money off of hospitality, things like that. We're just trying to add more hospitality at the airport.
And one other thing, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind me saying this, we had a meeting with AvFuel last week, and Judy was part of that meeting. And part of the issue with some of our 100 low-lead fuel is it comes from Tyler, Texas. The further away from there, the more the charges are for delivery. So if you're trying to compare this to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Addison area, they're coming from Tyler, Texas, which is only 70 or 80 miles away, so they don't have to pay.
Well, I'm not. We're talking about Artesia, man.
And
That's where a lot of these people are getting their fuel, from what they said.
and
Not everybody around here is getting it from Tyler, Texas.
if it's 100 low-lead through AvFuel Corporation, it is.
That's what I'm saying. Advil may be
Right.
the problem.
Right, and it may be. And to facilitate fueling, I don't know how that would work if we say, okay, well, we need fuel, so we'll just go out and say, okay, who's got the lowest gas? How that works, because some of our systems are based on their structure. Our charging, our credit card system is based on AvFuel Corporation. We have a contract with them to use their.
But see, these are all questions I thought we were digging into for the past 3-4 months on what those costs are, what are our options, because I can hear myself talking about this way back in October and even before about what does it take to buy cheaper fuel. And I was told, well, if you buy it smaller amounts, then they charge you more for transportation, but I haven't actually seen anything. All I hear is maybes and whatevers. What we're wanting to do is get to where we're competitive, where we have a good product, just like you would at any of your businesses or whatever. You want to provide a good service. And just landing, and there's more to an airport than just landing your airplane. We want to talk about, we've already passed the deal where there's tips, gratuities available now. about what does that look like with that service. This all goes in line with all of that. How do we become attractive without giving away the ship? You know, it's the same the same conversation, you could take airport out and you put convention center.
And we did discuss with Fuel. He did some research for us on the markups. You know, right now we have a $1.50 markup. He says some go as low as 50 cents markup to help cover their fees. So his suggestion was one thing that we could lower is our markup fee down to $1, whatever the council would.
And some of those things we got to look at is equipment breakdowns.
Right.
You know, and do you have R&R? Do you take a small percentage and save it so that we're not just pulling from general fund and keep subsidizing those things? Now, we're still looking at, in the scheme of things, not making money off of these items. You know, have you ever gone to a hotel and you love the hotel and then you get your bill and you get nickeled and dimed for everything and you say, I'm not staying here anymore? This is the sentiment that these folks are getting, nickel and dimed. Where we want to make money is when we get the RFP, Lord willing, sometime in the year of our Lord 23, something on an airplane mechanic that we have a joint agreement with, that we are able to generate some revenue on these type of things. And that finally we have a good structure and that we're bringing people in. So then they rent spaces at the hangars we purchased.
Yes, sir.
So it's part of a business model that we need to make sure we're working. That's the point. And so what we did is, when we were talking to the people on the panel that we picked out, we had a group of people, of users at the airport. Some of them are living here local. Some come in here all the time to their homes, of what they would like to see in the airport, just like we do with people on Parks and Rec that are involved in those things. You know, get their opinions on, because I'm not a flyer. I don't go to airports. But to be competitive on amenities and what we see. And so these are some of the things that they suggested. So I did, was it an executive order? Yes. To stop them for a while, and they're still stopped. But what I wanted to do is bring it to the council to look at it about making it permanent so it's not an executive order.
They just said that those fees generate around an approximate $25,000. So, you know, if we didn't have those fees, well, what did those fees go to? Like
Just his budget.
General operations.
General operations, training.
To pay for
Staff,
employees
or, yeah.
and.
Mm-hmm.
So
But in a business model, that's what I'm saying. You look at retail, okay? You don't charge so much for your stuff that people don't come back in that store. They go down the street. So we're trying to say, what are we offering that says we want people to come into our business, so that you're talking about volume. You never save yourself into prosperity. You don't do it. You can be conscious of your budget, your money, how you spend it, but it's only when you generate revenue. That's the whole principle this village has taken with GRT marketing, is we have to have more people coming in, spending more money when they're here, giving them more amenities to spend their money here so that we generate more money. Same philosophy out there.
But if you have good customer service, you know, when I go in and it's a little more expensive, if I get good customer service, I'll go back every time.
And we're working on that too.
So, you know, it's those, to me, the customer service.
Well, from a business standpoint, is typically you look for potential other vendors where you can save money there. I mean, if you go to the vendor and say, hey, you know, here's where we're at, of course they're gonna say, well, take lesser margin. You know, they're not gonna give up anything on their side. But are there other vendors, and if so, we need to look at, are there other sources of fuel that would be less expensive? You know,
And that's what we're supposed to be looking at.
Right. So for them to come back and just say, well, you know, cut your margins, sure, yeah, that's an easy thing, you know, but that's not how business necessarily works. There's two sides of it. You have to look at what you're spending, and then yes, charge a reasonable markup for it. And fuel is difficult, because if you go and buy a whole bunch of fuel and then your prices go down, you're stuck with it. You gotta sell that because you still have a fixed
That's
cost.
what happened to us.
If you can buy a whole bunch of it and it goes up, then you're doing really good. But we really need to get a move on finding, if there are other sources of fuel, where we could potentially buy and save some money there.
There's two companies that I know most that airports use, Phillips or Avfuel. I know. And a lot of your airports that use the Phillips, they may be a little bit cheaper because they may come from a closer destination. So that's where some of the fuel pricing comes from. The one thing that the mayor is talking about, and that the advisory brings up is if the ramp fees and tie-down fees are waived, they think we'll have more people flying in here buying fuel, so that they don't have to pay that. So that's one thing that the advisory board is.
But then I've already skipped ahead to number 17. So we're gonna reduce our revenues, but then they want us to come up with money to buy a self-serve low-lead fuel tank. So it's kind of like, wait a minute, that puts us even more in the hole as far as your budget goes. So, in thinking that reducing some fees, that'll make people come in more often. Yeah, maybe not, but then if you reduce them, good luck trying to add them back in if it doesn't pan out. So we got to really be careful about just eliminating fees, because once you eliminate them, you can't add them back in. Then you'll really hear a lot of squeaking.
These fees are set by ordinance, so they'd have to go through an ordinance change as well, so.
Right.
So, Mr. Mayor, so as we sit here today, you've waived these as an executive order, these fees have essentially been waived at the present time, is that right?
Yes.
Right. And how long have we had those waived?
About 4 months.
Okay, so if we're going to look at a business model, then if you were looking at a perturbation that would give you additional backside revenue, then by waiving these fees, that would be the hypothesis. Then wouldn't you do that for a year just to see where you're at? Because, you know, we have, our traffic right now is going to be considerably lower than it is after you get to May.
Yes.
So, and that's just a thought I have, because if you've already got it in place,
Well, and that's a good point, but the picture on this is when we discuss with these folks, they're wanting to bring in what they call fly-ins with their groups.
Right.
And so before they wouldn't even consider Ruidoso
because of those fees.
because of, they don't feel like that they're wanted here. And so since we made the gesture to say, hey, well, we'll waive these tie-down fees, whatever, they've started publishing us in their are they magazines or are they just online? I don't know. Combination, that, hey, Ruidoso is doing this, and so we're starting to get traffic. So now then these people that put on events, like we do, are saying, okay, we'll
Consider it.
it looks like something's happening in Ruidoso. We'll start talking about maybe start doing fly-ins in not peak weekends, you know, and look at stuff. So we're getting our marketing, part of the marketing concept that we're going after on the comprehensive marketing plan is going to involve the airport on how to get these fly-ins, how do we generate revenue out there? And that's the goal. Is this is a small part that becomes this, you know, there's certain places in town that I will not go to because I feel like they don't appreciate my business because of a few things. And they just tell me that's just the way it is. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. So I don't go there. That's the feeling that a lot of these people have. And so when we made the gesture, then they're coming back and saying, okay, we'll start looking at Ruidoso and moving forward. And how do we generate revenue? Because that's what I told them. We want to do it, but you need to help us generate revenue by having, you know, hospitality. How do we get things in? And to do the hospitality, we need to work on our on-the-ground services. You know, the way our people greet, what services we offer. If they're parking their cars, we're working on rental cars or other features out there. You know, how do we facilitate those people to get them in? So it's kind of a whole comprehensive thing. And maybe I did jump this on here a little bit early. You know, I mean, we can continue.
But that would be another carrot, self-fueling.
Well, and then on the fueling, it was, we don't even know, have we even looked at this equipment?
He hasn't. Go ahead, Austin.
Mr. Mayor, I've contacted Mr. Stevens once last week. I did get a hold of him, and he was currently out of town. He didn't have any information then. I did contact him yesterday, left him a voicemail, haven't heard from him yet.
Okay.
So we don't know anything about this self-serve system that he's
I will, Mr. Mayor, I will add, the questions that were presented at the advisory board meeting were sent within an hour or so after that meeting.
Okay.
He hasn't provided us any answers.
Any updates? What this is about is that after hours or whatever, instead of them having to get our folks out there, that they can come out and fill up their own
Well,
airplane.
not only after hours, and some airports are doing that.
Oh, yeah.
You just pull up and you fuel up your plane and you're ready to go. It would mean less cost per gallon because you're not having to pay for labor.
Correct.
So it is the way that some airports are moving.
Kind of like Walmart checkers.
Then one of the reasons they're looking at this is we had brought up relocating our entire fuel farm. Part of it is the outdated stuff, the maintenance on our fuel farm. It's down the highway, across the highway road from the airport. So
Horrible location.
Yeah.
So it is a horrible location. We are driving hazardous materials down the highway, a state highway, without anybody that really has any hazardous material CDL licenses. So there is some liability there that we've taken on. And we've looked at where we'd like to place the fuel farm, and it is gonna cost just under $300,000, I believe, to relocate it and put a new fuel farm in. We are seeing rust in one of our fuel tanks right now that we're gonna have inspected. We're working on getting an inspection down. We had to get the fuel down out of that to inspect that. So that's one thing that we're looking at is the maintenance on these fuel tanks and fuel farm. We've spent about $5,000 or $6,000 on motors since I've been involved with the airport since 2019. And then the leak detection system, we're fixing to have to call the company in to come check out that because it's not working right. And they'll charge us $2,000 just to come in and troubleshoot it, and then they'll have to go back to Albuquerque, get the parts, and charge us to come back down and work on it. So if we get it relocated, we'll get a newer system put in there, and it's going to be close to the airport. We won't have to deal with all that stuff. And where it's located, where I want to locate it, we could put in this a self-serve system and not have to buy an individual self-serve system like they're talking about in this here as well.
So if you relocate it, would it be above ground, underground?
It'll stay above ground.
Stay above?
Yes, sir.
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, I've had initial communication with Jane Lucero with State Aviation, possibly doing a state grant for the fuel farm so we need to have her and Dan Moran come down and take a look at it and just start that process, and maybe we can get some funding to do the relocation of the fuel farm.
Because the initial response from this committee was like, hey, we don't have the money, we don't need to spend it. And the others that are more visionary are saying, hey, in the scheme of things where we're going, it's more optimal. So, they realize there's cost-cutting measures that they want to do, and this just came up, and I think that the fee, they said it was around 10 grand.
That's what they're saying they're asking for. It's from some municipality, hasn't gave us information on what municipality it's coming from.
So it might be good to get Queen Jane to come in, and we call her that affectionately because she gets grants like crazy. So get a hold of her and maybe see if we can work, and we probably should have engaged her beforehand. And she's with Armstrong again?
No, Mayor Crawford, Jane's with State Aviation.
State
Right,
Aviation,
and they did a presentation at the managers meeting, the State Aviation, and they are going to have priorities for capital outlay during the session. It's something that they haven't had in the past, but the municipal league is endorsing them to have additional funding for airports. So we want to try to be able to get with her. If we can get with her and Dan, we can see what advice and what recommendations they can provide to us to move forward.
So maybe we remove this item until we get more information.
I would could agree with that.
And that's number 16, but, and so we want to just
15.
keep 15 like it is,
And 17.
and then 17.
Remove 17
Remove 17 and 15.
and 15.
We're just going to do status quo, and I like Gary's idea of running it a year.
So Chief, over the 4 months that we waived the fees, have you seen, comparing to the same period of last year, have you seen an increase or decrease or stay the same as far as fuel sales? Or have you even looked at it?
I haven't, Austin deals with that, but I know on the way of flights coming in, we've seen a decrease in flights.
Okay. So that may be something to look at as well, because again, the argument is if we eliminate the fees, which we've done for 4 months, it will increase sales. But if it hasn't increased sales in the 4 months,
Well, what 4 months are you comparing it to? Annual?
the same 4 months of whatever they've been.
Same 4 months?
Each month, when we do our manager's report, Mr. Mayor, Austin puts in, okay, last year, this month, we had this many flights last month, and even fuel sales. You look at the manager's report, it shows that we sold this much jet fuel in 2021, we sold this much in 2022. So on a monthly basis, we see that we're lower or higher.
Yeah, as long as we're comparing same periods, the same 4 months, not
we can get
for
that
the year,
together for you, yes.
because we were still charging then, but for those 4 months, because that would be information as far as the argument that if we eliminate those completely, it'll increase fuel sales, and it may or may not.
Okay, we'll get that taken.
It'd be a contributing factor.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am?
Mayor Coughlin, it is in the same format as lodging tax and grocery receipts tax, so it's the same kind of report where it gives a 10-year history by month, and it gives a growth rate at the bottom. So it's similar to what you've already seen as far as lodging tax, so you can compare month to month, year to year. So I believe that's in the manager's report each month.
Yes, it is too.
And so it's down year over, from a year ago, that same time.
They said flights are down.
I know the flights are down, I'm pretty sure that the fuel, we can get that information for you.
Because you remember, one of the issues that we had with the fuel was we were $2 higher than a lot of the other airports.
Right.
And so why would you come here?
Right.
So we tried to make adjustments there without selling it for cheaper than what we purchased it.
And Mr. Mayor, we can look at our fuel at AirNav, which is a site kind of like Gas Buddy for the airplanes. And we were one of the lowest in this area for the last several months because we'd made some changes to our process as well. So, and our fuel load came in cheaper, so we've been lower than Alamogordo and Las Cruces. And Las Cruces is the same size airport as we are, so, we kind of look at them and see where they're at too, but we've been lower than.
How do we let people know?
We advertise through various airplane online organizations, and then by word of mouth. That's how it's set up.
But Mayor, if I may, just to follow on with your question, how do we let them know? If I'm a guy that's leaving Oklahoma City and I want to fly to San Diego, I got my son with me, got a little plane, here we go, we're planning a trip. How do I look and see what the gas is going to be along that route to plan the trip?
AirNav website, Flightlight website, there's various websites that these pilots use, and we hear it from the pilots. So we looked at it, you fuel up on this, there was more here than there, so that's how they have to find that
Okay,
information.
but then where does Ruidoso get plugged in to those sites to say, oh, it's $2.50 a gallon here? You see what I'm saying?
Are you asking, we enter that information
There you
on
go.
a yearly basis. We have subscriptions to these sites that we pay. Some of them we don't have to pay for, but we do enter that on a weekly basis. They send us emails saying, hey, it's time to update your fuel prices. Are they the same? Are they more? So we do that on a weekly basis.
Got it. That's what I was asking. Thank you.
So Austin, can you explain the box to us? That's sometimes a limiting factor too, that people have to fly here.
Fly box, yeah.
Yeah.
Restricted airspace.
Going east to west,
You don't know about the box?
I know about the box.
Okay, tell us about the box.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, so the box, Holloman Air Force Base, it's Holloman, right?
Wismer?
Yes.
Wismer, they've got restricted flight areas that span pretty much from almost Las Cruces up towards past Carrizozo. So that box is limiting people from flying over our mountain and going direct west. Anytime somebody comes in from the east, they're usually diverted from Roswell and they either have to go south or they have to go north, up through Albuquerque or El Paso. Typically people will stop here in Ruidoso for fuel or whatever reason, and then from there they'll either go south or they'll go north. A lot of the local people, like Mr. Stepp, part of our advisory board, he likes to take the pass. There's a way that you can fly directly over, is it Highway 70 to
54.
Las Cruces?
You go Highway 54
Highway 54.
out of Alamogordo. That's a straight shot. You can use that corridor
Yep.
up and down too.
And there's a small corridor, but jets don't typically use that. That is
So
the
we're just limited, and we have to realize those things. So, okay.
Mayor,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have a question for Zach. Zach, would permanently eliminating fees be a violation of the anti-donation clause? Should we be concerned about that if we eliminate fees? No? I just wanted
Because
to
it's
make
not to
sure.
an individual.
Okay, I haven't read it lately. I was just curious. I just want to make sure.
So 15 and 6,
15 and
17
17.
17 are off the agenda.
Okay, number 16, discussion on hangar lease agreement between the Village of Ruidoso, Sierra Blanca Regional Airport, and Joe Schoenig for P1 hangar beginning December 29th, 2022.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Joe Schoenig has been a local Ruidoso for some time now, a very frequent flyer here into this airport. He's seeking a hangar suitable to fit a Piper Malibu. This type of aircraft would typically be offered a lease into the Alpha T hangars based on its size and dimensions, but there is currently no vacancy. They are all occupied at this time. To facilitate the request of this customer, I have chosen to lease a portion of private hangar number 1, also known as the Smith hangar, when we purchased last year. The monthly rate has been set to $400 a month with an option of utility, electric, and this rate and agreement is based on those of the Alpha T hangars.
Okay, so you're putting one of our purchases to work.
Yes, sir.
Job.
Are they already in that hangar?
Councilor Coughlin, no, sir. We're waiting for signature first.
Okay, go ahead, just because of the date. So the date, are you waiting for our signature or their signature?
Your signature.
Our signature, okay, because we had talked about that, and it concerned me when I saw December 29th, so that date probably needs to be amended or changed to be.
Reflect today's date, or
Well, not today's date, but next Tuesday's date. Yeah.
I can do that.
And Mr. Schoenig's, he's been utilizing another pilot's hangar, and this pilot is going to be,
Storing possibly some other stuff in that hangar temporarily while he builds another home, or sells his home, builds his new home.
so Mr. Schoenig won't have the hangar that he's been borrowing.
I didn't think we allowed that.
We didn't.
We're not supposed to,
So,
for aviation purposes only.
yeah, so he needs to, while they're building it, it's not a moving company storage facility. We had that issue before.
So does that mean if I have my plane sitting in there, I can stuff anything I want in it, as long as my plane's sitting in there?
No.
Well, it was supposed to be aviation related, like toolboxes, some chairs. I know some guys have barbecue pits that they go out there and they play with their plane all day long and they'll cook some grill. But what we got into, people were storing because it was cheaper than renting a storage. So they were storing all their junk out there. And we did change the codes already on the gates because we hadn't changed those in a long time. So according to the leases, they're not supposed to be storing anything out there. Right? Yeah, we went over that already. So,
Mr. Mayor, I'll develop a letter and I'll send it out to the hangar owner here and
Yeah.
advise him that he cannot do that.
yeah,
It's part of the contract that he signed.
And I will get with Joe Schoenig to reevaluate that. And if anything changes, I'll advise Joe, of course,
Okay.
Ron and Jenny, if that needs to be removed or. if it's
okay,
not.
so that'll be consent item?
Well, and wouldn't there be a certain amount of liability and concern about fuel fire or fuel for a fire when you're using it as a storage unit with all of these other items rather than just the plane? And then you've got the fuel in there too, so.
We got fuel on the planes.
We got fuel on the planes, and we got guys that will change their own oil, which we want to start being able to provide that service, selling oil. We do sell
We
oil.
do sell oil, yes, sir, and we have a place for them to come to used oil. So we have our mechanic out there that has a spot, so we're already taking care of that as well because based on our mechanic and we, like I said, we do sell oil as well already.
So hopefully, next month we'll have the RFPs for fuel, for diesel or the airplane mechanic and all of that.
So we finally changed the gate codes?
Yeah,
Those have been in place for years.
yeah, they have.
Heck, I can't drive out there.
Well, and they went out there and changed them the next day, so
It's good.
anyway,
Because it got spread around a lot.
yeah.
Everybody tells their friends what it is so they can get into the hangar or get into this, so.
Yeah.
But we're gonna start a process where they're changed periodically, and then the current lease owners and whatever will have that code,
Yeah.
emailed to them. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Keep your foot on the pedal on those RFPs and then pose the question to your council, your committee on marketing and ways to generate income, and ask them to give you more factual stuff, of where this information's moving through. Item number 18, discussion on memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso and Fawn Ridge Property Owners Association for emergency water supply. There he is.
Mayor, Council, this is in the process of potentially annexing in Fawn Ridge subdivision. As you know, in the last year, 2 years, their wells have been drying up and, they're running out of water up there. Back in, it's been 6 months ago, I think it was, the mayor issued an executive order.
A year.
A year ago.
It was almost a year.
An executive order to sell them bulk water. So what we're working with them on doing is actually installing a 2-inch water tap for them to tie into. They're gonna abandon all their wells, and then we're gonna work on the process of actually annexing them in. But being that the mayor did issue the executive order, we wanted to bring it in front of the whole council for approval on this.
So Adam, if we annex them in, do we also have to provide sewer services for them?
Eventually, yes, that's one of the things we'll look at is if it is annexed in, we'll look at either a grant or a grant loan combo to do the water, because the water infrastructure in that subdivision is old, to redo the water for fire protection, sewer, and streets.
And then they would have to follow our ordinances.
They would have to follow our ordinances, and then depending on how it worked with the grant loan or whatever it is, we'd have to assess fees on their water bills.
Is there, and they want to do this?
Yeah, well, before we move on really anything right now, this is just an emergency, because they're gonna tie in under his supervision, all the expenses are on them. But they have to come back with 2/3 of their members, residents, and so far, they're all
okay.
They're all like, yeah, because they got nothing.
Yeah.
And right now, they've raised their water rates from like nothing, a quarter to, what'd they say, $90?
It's $60.
$60. It's $180 a quarter.
Yes, right now, we'll be assessing their fees as $7.59 per 1,000 gallons, the same we charge a fire hydrant like a contractor buys bulk water in.
And then we'll assess, we'll have a bill to them. They'll pay us while they get their signatures, and then we'll move forward to looking at annexation. They're paying for what's the engineering company, Dennis?
Yes,
Dennis Engineering to come up with cost estimates, 4 or 5, whatever $1 million it's gonna take to redo all of it. And then the village would then go out for a bond through either Water Trust Board or a block grant loan or whatever, they're out there. And then we would assess those 78 properties that would be registered, so that if the property's sold, the new purchasers will know that they will be paying it. So we told them their bill, could be $150, could be $200 a month, but that we assured them it wouldn't be $400. We'd have to stretch this out.
Sure.
So that they could afford it.
And so the bond, if we did go out for a bond, the Ruidoso residents would not be paying for that, only the Fawn Ridge.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? And we've already looked at services, and I don't remember, I've been in so many discussions about it, I'm not sure if y'all are up to speed, that we have water right there, we have sewer right there. They're gonna have to trench over, what'd you say, 400 feet?
900 feet.
900 feet. They're gonna lay in a 2-inch and a 2-inch valve, which will not suffice if this goes through. There'll be a whole 6-inch system sent through there. But again, that will be after the funding is acquired.
Is it fair to say that their current system is dire, if not on?
Oh, it's,
Yes, they have 3 wells, two of them went down, and I think they're getting like 5 gallons a minute out of one of their wells.
Yeah.
So they've actually shut their wells off for 24 hours to, get the tanks up a little bit, and then they're kind of managing it as
Oh, my
that.
gosh.
And then during holiday and peak periods, it's even worse, even if they had the 2 to 3 wells up and running.
Yep.
And it's basically a community service organization, isn't it, or as far as?
well, they didn't apply for the domestic well.
Yes, and Mayor Crawford, Counselor Jackson, they are a mutual domestic water system, but they haven't been active in what the process it takes to become mutual domestic. So, they have there's a lot of repairs, on their lines that eventually are going to have to happen. But we want to provide this water, so, right, like Adam said, I think it's 5 to 10 gallons a minute at the most for the 78 homes.
And a lot of it's muddy because they have the old galvanized system, so all that's going to have to be ripped. But this is a chance to bring them in because we have, and Boyd was working with us on this before he left, services on both sides of them, basically, and right down there on the highway.
Yeah, we have 2 ways of tying them in. The new well that Eric was working on, they got it online to fill the 1 million gallon tank on Gavilan. And we also have a line that feeds the Gates of Gavilan through a new PRV that was put in when that Gates of Gavilan was first assessed. And then it runs down to the whole property and over to that. There's going to be a trailer park or something right there on the corner of the Fawn Ridge and Gavilan Canyon.
So they're using about 258,000 gallons per month.
Yep.
So if we bring them in and add that to our consumption, is that going to affect our water rights at all?
Yeah.
Actually, that'll be on the Alto part of the system.
Okay.
So that's where we have the majority of our rights. So when Eric was here, we did discuss that, and he didn't see an issue with it at all.
Okay. And then the other thing's going to be is then once we hook into the sewer, then it's going to increase our flows to the treatment plant. Is that going to change our allocation with Ruidoso Downs?
No.
No, okay.
We've already discussed that at JUB.
Okay.
And looking at it, and that's part of our, mandate is to get all these people on. And so once we do the sewer lines or whatever, we'll be able to bring all those folks on.
Because of the reduction of the I&I. Okay, got it.
And that's still yet to be determined on how that's going to work, because we've had Isaac in here before, and we're still getting I&I. We still haven't figured out just where.
I know where some of it is.
Where?
The sewer lid right in front of the Boys and Girls Club, it sits below grade. Whenever we get rain, it runs right over the top of it and goes down through that hole in there. I mean, it's not going to be a huge amount, but it sits below grade.
And I'm curious to see, just kind of, when we get the lift stations, the Circle lift station and the Sleepy Hollow lift station online, how much it reduces, because right now, that was one of our biggest places of I&I is right there at the Circle.
Right.
And so.
And that's happening now.
That's happening now.
Yeah, we met down there the other day, and that's work started, so.
We have the same issue I've noticed on Meacham when they repaved, is our lids are below grade now.
And we do have inserts in those manholes, so when you open up the lid, there's a plastic insert in there. So, that insert is gonna fill up with water, but then it's gonna go over, it won't actually go over.
What's that, seal?
No, it's a seal that sits inside the.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It sits inside, so it's a seal that keeps things from running down in there. Cool, I didn't know that.
And Mayor Crawford, Councilor Coughlin, this Department of Transportation they're trying to contract with a contractor to do the raising of the manhole lids on Meacham. So that's in the works. Trying to find someone. They haven't had.
That's up there fixing and trying.
Yes.
Trying.
So we gave them some recommendation of some contractors because it needs to be done because they understand that people are driving into the lids and they're going to have a tort on that, so.
Yeah, and it's like when you build a house or build a building, you're gonna put doors on it, so why wait till after it's built to go and try and find somebody to contract for doors?
Put a shower in.
Yeah, put a shower in.
All right. Thanks, Adam, and you guys did an awesome job.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve over there on Rio and Eagle. getting out there at 2 o'clock in the morning, had it knocked out by 4 a.m. and working with the businesses. I know Jamie and Downship Brewery and those guys really appreciate it, that we were thoughtful in their business. So they had a successful time, and then
And
you guys.
Swiss Chalet too.
And we've got to figure out ways to get him, we need to quit worrying about the chief, and we need to start getting him some help.
Yep.
So we're going to have to get very, very creative on how we do it. So,
Thank you very much.
anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Great job.
Start taking the officers on their off shifts and having.
Regular, honey?
Yeah, don't we want this one on regular?
Yeah, regular.
Yes.
All right, and then we'll go to the regular items that we'll have on there, which will be the invocation pledge, roll call. We'll have some consent regular items, which will be the meetings from December 13th, December 21st. There's a request to schedule a public hearing for vacation of portion of public right-of-way 236 Paradise Canyon Road, Lot 48, Block 4 of Paradise Canyon, subdivision, second supplement, Ruidoso, New Mexico. Is everybody familiar with where that's at?
No?
Okay, is that you, Sam? You want to let us know where it's at? Up here?
Oh, the cabinet shop. Yeah.
The cabinet shop.
Yeah, on Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be Darrell Waltrip's. He made cabinets. It sits right off the road.
Is it by Eagle Creek Construction?
No,
Yeah.
it's,
But that's going more south from there, from Eagle Creek Construction place.
yes, so it's probably like
Sits behind
quarter
gates.
mile from this intersection of Paradise and Sutterth as you're going down
Okay.
this way on your right-hand side.
Yeah.
The stairs encroach. If you look at the photos in the case study, you'll recognize it right away. The stairs encroach and
Yep.
a portion of the living room is built in the right of way as well.
Yeah, so the property's already built on this property, so we'll vacate it, but they have to purchase it.
Yes,
And so they'll pay for an appraisal?
yes, as well as the replat, any fees will be incurred by the property owner.
Okay, got it?
Got it.
Good. All right, then we'll have public input and mayoral reports and presentations, and I'll just remind you, this time next week, I'll have a brand-new neck, so y'all will be doing this. My attitude will be improving about
Let's
this time. So,
Gosh, let's hope.
yeah, so,
Mayor, Jenny, did Andrea Fernandez contact y'all about a proclamation?
she called me about, I didn't really understand what it
Or,
was.
it's more for, I forgot to bring my notes, to quit using bottled water and to be more,
Okay.
Environmentally conscious.
thank you.
Mayor Council Letterman, she did speak with Yvonne, and I believe that Yvonne and the mayor had a conversation about that.
So that means you won't be able to use these or that paper cup?
Yeah.
Except I can't get anything out of it. I hate these.
Biodegradable now.
Mm-hmm.
Water.
Well, that's gluten-free, but
Then we'll have presentation of
somewhere.
introduction of new Village of Ruidoso employees and promotions. Right, Ron? And I don't have a list. of
Mayor, we
those.
also should have the employee of the quarter and the department of the quarter included in that also.
Yep. And then I guess the mayor pro tem will be given the oath of office to the new deputy clerk.
Deputy clerk.
That's correct.
We have a new deputy clerk.
Yeah, and it's a bond.
Oh, look at him.
So she'll be the new deputy clerk, and she'll be working intermittently until we were able to find a new
So
executive.
that's why we have
Wait.
the executive.
Wait, the way you said that, she'll be working intermittently, like, she'll only be working sometimes, the rest of the time she's just like.
Yeah,
looking
doing
back
what
on
she
it.
does. I don't know. Anyway, so congratulations to
Wow,
Yvonne,
that is neat.
I think. And then we'll be looking, because we need somebody there, as y'all know. So then we have the
keep you
presentation of the employee and the department and all that stuff. Boards and commission appointments, I don't have any that I know of right now, so you won't have to do that. Then you'll have the village manager report, all departments, and we're wanting one when we were talking about the Paradise property, get us caught up on what's happening over there on Paradise Canyon.
Yeah. Hey, and Mayor, Bobby, you know the Meacham and Sutterth down by the river, the trailer houses? Yes. Have you noticed that all of those, they're getting
Meacham
rid
and
of all of
Sutterth.
those?
Behind the Allsup store?
Oh, yeah, come on down.
I was just wondering if we said anything or if the owner is just getting rid of
He's
the
getting rid of,
unwanted.
he's cleaning them up.
Mayor, Council, yeah, the owner's actually getting rid of those, it's supposed to be getting rid of the 2 trailer houses closest to the road there.
Right?
And we actually acquired an easement from them for the hazard mitigation project.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's part of him.
Oh, okay. Because that's going to look nice.
Yeah, he's been cleaning
I
it
really
up.
like that.
The conversation I had with the owner of that piece of property, this was some time back, actually before COVID. His initial intent was to remove the trailers and bring in some modulars to clean up the property for the most part. Now, there is a separation. I don't know if you know about the bridge that kind of goes back behind there. Anyhow, the property split into 2. There's a separate owner for the back side of that, and then the front side of that is an individual owner, but he's cleaning it up.
Okay.
And Mayor
I've
Crawford.
just been watching that and I was like, oh my gosh.
Mayor and members of the council, Stephen Darce is the owner of that property. We're also in negotiations for a second easement for the hazard mitigation project, which he's agreed to, and at this time, he's trying to get the homes removed.
Is that the same guy that bought the other RV park just up the deal? No. That's a different guy? Okay. I met him, but Rich and Anna sold to another guy that's over there.
Oh, they sold their property?
Yep.
They moved into a house and
Yep.
that whole thing is not theirs.
And Mayor Crawford, members of the council, we did have a Zoom call last week with legal counsel with Zach and New Mexico Municipal League regarding the Paradise property, because there's vehicles on there and there's some coke boxes, so we have a direction on how to move forward with that. But Bobby will give a update on that at the next
Okay,
meeting.
that's fine.
Yeah, I'll give a full presentation on the most recent abatement projects as well as some of the potential upcoming abatement projects.
Okay.
Okay, very good. And then on Chiricahua.
Yes, I'll make sure that gets included.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll have an update on lighting, the schedule on removing all of that next week. You know, you're going to leave up the Christmas lights in Midtown for a while.
And also the revenue expense on the skating rink.
Yes,
I've heard that there's been a lot of people there.
it looks really cool. So anyway, y'all will give us revenue and expenses.
We'll have you on the manager's report for that? Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
Public hearing on ordinance 2023-02, ordinance amending Chapter 14, Section 14-4, licensing for dogs and cats. And is that going to be your presentation too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then we will be able to offer people incentives. I mean, the Humane Society and all that's working on it.
That's correct. I'll make sure that I have a representative from the Humane Society attend the meeting as well, and they could give you some specific details. But at this point, we're discussing at least 60 days, potentially 90 days, where they're going to do a low-cost incentive for microchipping once the ordinance actually gets passed. So we'll do quite a bit of social media advertising as far as the low-cost microchipping. I believe that they're going to do it for $15. For a microchip, which is actually, I think, less than half the cost of it normally.
Yeah.
So if you go to your vet or the Humane Society, I think it's something like $30 or $35 to get a microchip normally. So they're going to do a large push on their end. I've had conversations with several of the veterinarians. They're on board. They think it's a good idea and a good thing. So we'll give you a full presentation on that. But ultimately, I think it's pretty straightforward and a good thing for the community.
Okay, and I think that at least once a weekend, we have somebody, what are you grinning about?
Once a weekend.
If somebody loses their dog.
Oh, I thought
and
you were
it-
going to say, once a weekend, we have somebody at the dog park to pass along.
Oh, that would be a good deal.
Yeah, well, once you get a better attitude adjustment.
Yeah,
maybe
well,
that'll
once
work.
my attitude improves. Okay, then we'll have a quasi judicial hearing, thank you. Hearing on ordinance 2023-01, an ordinance consenting to the annexation of contiguous, it's different, contiguous territory to the village of Ruidoso. Is that you, Sam?
What does that mean?
What is it?
You want to come up and explain it to us?
Well, how much can she say since it's quasi judicial?
Or she can give us.
Well, what's the continuous,
Contiguous?
There's a single property owner that owns one lot in the village and one lot in the county, and they would like to combine those lots and then subdivide them in a different manner. But in order to do that, they need to annex in first instead of slipping it through a summary replat. And so they're going through all of the hoops. They went through planning commission. It was recommended to you all. It's a very small lot off of Candlewood. So we'll be bringing that to you all.
Okay, all right, thank you. Then a couple of other regular items, task order RFP for Yeh and Associates, Inc., for professional engineering services for Grindstone Dam, 48-inch sediment and gravel removal in the amount not to exceed $289,000. And change, I thought we held that one.
We're removing that. That's
Yeah,
not going
that
to be.
one's gone.
Yes, we're removing that.
Yeah. Item number 2, RFP with Yeh and Associates. Oh, that is a duplicate. So that one's gone. Okay. And that
that's it.
concludes. Anybody else have anything? Okay, and we got 9 minutes to go. So, all right, well, good luck next week. So we appreciate it. That
No, good
concludes
luck to
our.
you.
It'll be a
Yeah, good luck.
fast meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, this meeting is adjourned.
Sorry?
Trying to get Bertha's name off the.
Oh,
I know.
I didn't see him.
That's your 10 o'clock, sir.
Huh? Thank you. I'm excited.